Welcome to the Primis Pod. I'm Liz Wilkie.
And I'm Chris Mason.
And we are the Strategic Partnership Managers for Primis Mortgage Network. Today, we're joined by Ian Scarrott and Emily Hollands. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourselves from OSB?
Of course. Thank you for having us. I'm Emily Hollands, Group Head of Distribution at One Savings Bank.
And I'm Ian Scarrott. I'm one of the key relationship managers at OSB Group, and I look after the relationship with Primis and TMA.
Thanks both. Great to have you here today. So there's been quite a lot happening at OSB of late. Do you want to tell us a bit about what's been changing?
Yes, thank you, Liz. So we're really glad of the opportunity. So thank you for making this happen for us. The main thing that we wanted to talk about today is the launch of our brand new lending brand, which is Rely. Really exciting. It's taken quite a lot of time, hasn't it, Ian, over the past couple of years to get us to a point where we are able to share it with the markets. And essentially, it is a new buy-to-let lending brand called Rely. And we are going to retire the Kent Reliance brands in the next few months, and Rely will be solely doing buy-to-lets. Best thing about it is it will retain everything good that Kent Reliance has ever done. So all of the elements of specialist buy-to-let lending it will do. It will still give the opportunity to do manual underwriting. Everything that you know when you say Kent Reliance, everything that you would think of for Kent Reliance, that's essentially what we will do in Rely going forward. However, we will also incorporate all of the bits that Precise used to do, all of the great buy-to-let lending that Precise used to do, particularly in the adverse space. And then on the complete flip side of that, we will also be able to bring in some more specialist lending, which is outside of the scope of even Kent Reliance at the moment. So it's really positive. It's a new way for us to work. It will mean we can offer things like AVMs. It will mean we can do day one offers, really kind of increase the turnaround time for a big proportion of the buy-to-let lending we do, whilst kind of retaining that manual underwriting, that specialist kind of element as well.
Excellent. That sounds great. Now, the buy-to-let market is a really competitive market at the moment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've talked about some really great things that Rely are going to be able to do. But what's really going to make Rely stand out in the current market?
I think that the biggest thing, or when I look at it, the biggest things, I don't think there's a lender that can do everything that I just said. Even Kent hasn't been able to do that before, which is why, 5 years ago we merged with Precise, because Precise had that kind of adverse element to it that Kent didn't have. It's why we have Interbay, which does our, next level 20-bed HMO buy-to-lets. There isn't a lender out there that can do all of those things. There is now with Rely. So as I said, we will be able to be priced competitively, which allows us to compete with some of the larger lenders. It will mean we can do quick turnaround times. Yep. It will mean that we will still be able to do manual underwriting, and it will mean that we will be able to incorporate the really complexities of buy-to-let that are kind of few and far between, that require a huge amount of work. I don't think that's available in the market at the moment, so I'm really excited. And I think the other point as well, we bring with us such a huge amount of experience doing buy-to-let. We're not a lender that's just going into buy-to-let, that's just touching into buy-to-let. We've been doing this for years. This is bread and butter. It's bread and butter for Kent Reliance, it's bread and butter for Precise, it's bread and butter for Interbay. And all those people and all that experience is still retained in Rely, but it's a brand new system that allows you to do it much quicker, allows you to be much more streamlined, and have a better experience for the customer as well, I think.
That's really interesting. So from our network point of view, our brokers are really fond of both the Precise and the Kent brands, as you know particularly well, Ian, and are well versed in the different things that they can do. How do you see, the buy-to-let space has evolved so much in the last 10 years, and both Kent and Precise have been at the forefront of a lot of changes there. How do you see the OSB vision now for how Precise and Rely will work?
So I think it's important to kind of put the cards out on the table, I guess. So as I said, we're going to retire the Kent Reliance brand for buy-to-let. That will be Rely. We will move all of the buy-to-let that currently sits in Precise. That will go through Rely as well. However, we know how important Precise is as a brand, and that will still retain all of the residential business. So everything good that you know about Precise from a resi perspective, again, the adverse, the cascade, all the good things that Precise has done from a residential perspective, as well as what Kent did as well, because Kent also had a strong residential proposition. That will all move into Precise going forward. And over the next couple of years, we will be starting to think about how we can elevate Precise as well and bring that in line with Rely from a systems perspective as well.
And I think what it's allowed us to do is with the Precise brand is focus on what it's going to mean in the future.
Yeah.
And we've already started that journey this year. We've introduced 90 and 95% products. Yeah. We've increased our loan sizes. We've reduced the affordability increased the affordability 3 times already this year. And there's some great new enhancements that will come in the future on that as well. So it's really going to allow us, by putting the buy-to-let brand into Rely, allow us to really focus on what makes Precise special to brokers, both on the residential and the bridging front, where it is a really dominant player in the bridging market as well, which will continue.
And I think as well, it's always a challenge, isn't it, when you bring a kind of new brand to the market. I'm sure you've seen, other kind of companies, other lenders do it over the years, and it is always challenging because how are you going to make sure that brand takes off? How are you going to make sure that, your people, your brokers are going to understand that brand and what we do? And that, to me, is where the experience comes in. It's all the same people. Ian will still be there, travelling the country, with you, doing the events and things and talking about it and letting you know why you should use it. And that goes for every single member of staff that works within One Savings Bank as well. We will always champion everything good about buy-to-let, but also resi as well.
Yeah. Brilliant.
That's fantastic. I think let's just touch on the wider buy-to-let market. Okay, it's a complex place to be at the moment. I think landlords are finding it a difficult environment, not just with taxation changes, rate increases, regulatory focus. I suppose it'd be good to get your views on how you see the current buy-to-let market, maybe what the good, the bad and the ugly in it at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way you can dress up the market as booming. Any market that's roughly around 40 to 45% down is not in the best of shape. But that doesn't mean there aren't huge opportunities. Of the landlords that say they will buy over the next kind of 12 to 18 months, the ones that are buying, where we're seeing their activity, is focused on the really specialist end of the market, which is a huge opportunity for us and people like yourself to support them. So we're seeing loads of activity drive through things like commercial, semi-commercial purchases, diversification in the landlords' portfolios. Bridging is absolutely flying with landlords at the moment. Okay. It's now the number one reason in the UK to purchase using a bridge is investment purchase. Historically, it's always been chain break finance, and actually investment purchase finance has leapfrogged that over the last few months. Okay. So, in a market where we're convincing ourselves that buy-to-let purchases are suppressed and aren't happening, actually we see bridging finance increase in terms of investment purchases. Why? Because it allows landlords to increase rental yields potentially by refurbishing, buying below market value stock, increase their equity in properties quickly, and increase the overall profitability of those properties. And we're seeing landlords use that to move into spaces like HMOs and multi-units and things like that as well, which of course we support through, and we will support through the new Rely brand.
Absolutely.
Everything from the kind of basic landlord buying a 2 up, 2 down terrace house, as you don't normally traditionally see, right the way through to a kind of 15, 20 bedroom HMO. And that's the bit that excites me, is the scale of Rely, that it will be able to cater for every single one of those landlords on that journey, from your kind of Joe Bloggs with 1 or 2 properties right the way to a larger corporate landlord. And we'll be able to kind of allow bespoke pricing along that journey. So really competitive, really well thought out pricing for each one of those different customer profiles.
That's brilliant. And how do you think brokers can really proactively help their customers? Is there anything specifically they can do with their customers at the moment? Maybe they're existing or new landlords they're coming across?
I think for me, the big change with the conversations I see happening with landlords and their brokers now is that it's not the conversations that were happening 5-10 years ago. Yeah. Buy-to-let was easy then, it just worked. There was no ICRs fit, limited company was relatively new, HMOs were to a penny, you didn't see them very often, if at all. Yeah. Whereas now what landlords want from brokers isn't just a conversation about the best rate, it's a conversation about how do I make this profitable? Whether that's geographical location, whether it's tenant type, whether it's the type of property and what they do with it, whether it's the way they structure it, is it going to be a corporate let, is it going to be kind of a limited company, is it going to be a partnership, how are we going to hold it, tax structures. So a landlord their relationship with their broker almost becomes like a culmination of a bit of a letting agent, a bit of a taxation and expert, or certainly to point them in the right directions. They need to have geographical location of all the different areas around where they're living and why they should buy and what they should buy and when. So that conversation that brokers have has become more complicated, but I don't think we should shy away from that. That's a huge opportunity for landlords to rely on their brokers even more, and for brokers to add value back in. So it's definitely a challenge. But the biggest thing I would say is, we've got a team of, 10, 15 sales guys out on the road, right from the bridging to the commercial to the BDMs, who aren't just there to talk to you about rates and shove products down your neck. They'll want to do that as well, but actually they can talk to you about these types of things, how to drive profitability through portfolios, how to utilise HMOs, who can talk to you about more effective ways of buying property using bridging and things like that. So for brokers, kind of to have that facility available that, a team of BDMs can come into their office and talk to them about that and help upskill them and their team, talk to them about complex credit reports, talk to them about how to read complex accounts, talk to them about different limited company structures. I think that's really, really viable and really, really useful. There's not many industries in the UK where I think you have a network of people that can just come into your office and educate your team for free. I think that's pretty rare, and I think that's something we should be really proud of.
I think when you look at the buy-to-let market as a whole, like, obviously you're absolutely right. You can't hide from the fact that it is down. It absolutely is. But I think one thing I've learned from, working for a specialist buy-to-let lender for nearly 10 years, and Ian, you're similar time, aren't you? How resilient the buy-to-let market is. There's been all sorts of issues, regulation, limited company, all everything that's happened over the last 10 years. It has obviously impact, and there's more to come. There's potential EPC changes, there's renters' rights, there's things like that. So there is more threats of regulation on the landscape. But buy-to-let market is resilient, and we've proven that over and over again. If it wasn't, Ian and I wouldn't have a job. Simple as that. We wouldn't be doing limited company buy-to-let. We wouldn't be doing half of the things we do. So resilience is brilliant. And I also think, like, intermediaries, like you say, they're more aware now. Brokers are more aware. And it isn't just the kind of conversation, I think, has shifted a little bit from, let's just churn out the PTs all day long, which is still, a big part of a lot of people's business. But, when we stand up at events now, when we talk, like you say, about bridging and things like that, people are actually ready to listen now because they want to know how to get into that business, that side of the business. They want to understand how to do more buy-to-let, how to do limited company buy-to-let, or they've got a couple of landlords, and those landlords are thinking about, as you say, going into semi-commercial. How does the broker do that? How do they help those clients? And also, how do they kind of initiate those conversations with those clients that don't necessarily, want to do that, or haven't kind of thought about that yet? So, one of the things we've got, we always say, we talk to brokers, have you got any self-employed clients on your books? Oh, yes, you have. Well, that's your potential commercial mortgage there. Have they thought about buying their premises? It's things like that. So it's diversifying at its best, basically. It's looking at, other income streams, and how you can grow your business. Especially as buy-to-let is a great way to start that. And you can incorporate lots of other different areas of lending as well.
Yeah, and I think it's over the last 10 years, buy-to-let has definitely become more specialist.
100%,
Back to your point, Ian, and I think that's probably where Rely can come in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of that more specialist
and
nature.
we've seen lenders over the years. Go back 10 years, very few lenders did limited company buy-to-let. It's become more popular over the years, and you've now got mainstream lenders offering limited company buy-to-let, and they price it a lot cheaper. So that, and people go, oh, well, surely that takes away your business. No, what it does is wake you up. It starts you thinking about, right, okay, how do we compete with that? What other areas of lending do we need to look into? And as I said earlier, here we go with Rely, still specialist buy-to-let, still manual underwriting, but here we go with, let's price some stuff really, really cheap. Let's get it offered really quickly, and let's try and compete with those bigger lenders. Let's compete with our current peers. And then let's look at even more specialist stuff that we can do and how we can help more clients as well.
I think that speed and efficiency as well is going to help landlords as well.
Yeah.
If you think about the ability to move quickly at auction purchases, maybe even, if we can do an instant offer, maybe there's a role there for Rely to play, that actually you don't always need a bridge in every circumstance. You know, we'll happily supply that if it's needed, but actually if you can get an instant offer out and we can cut that time to application by 20, 30, 40%, then actually that could be a real route to help landlords move quickly and adapt quicker.
The diversity and agility that you're talking about with Rely is so refreshing, and also your points about driving competition, because that's so important for our market overall and for all the brokers really, isn't it? Just to touch back on your point, Ian, about your team of expertise that can talk to our brokers that should they want to engage further in the buy-to-let and the more specialist buy-to-let area, how would they go about engaging with OSB and Rely in the new format?
Absolutely. So, I mean, all the details are going to be available on the website. So each area in the country will have their own internal and external BDM, and those contact details will be available. They should know their external BDM. If they don't, please reach out to myself. You can come via the desk. I work really closely with the mortgage desks at both Primis and TMA. So if they have any initial queries that come through them, those will normally find their way through to myself. But the BDM teams, they will be reaching out to make sure they're in contact, they're set up and they're ready to go and ready to utilise Rely as soon as it launches.
And is it a new registration process?
It will be, yes. So it will be a registration process, and we'll be sending out some pre-registrations emails via Primis and TMA over the next few months to make sure all our brokers are set up and ready to go before the official launch of the brand.
Amazing.
I think one thing for me, just to add to that, you know, One Savings Bank, Kent Reliance, Precise, you know, we have always been 100% committed to our intermediary partners, and launching Rely absolutely does not change that. You know, we still, intermediaries are our business. Everything we do is via intermediaries. Absolutely zero plans to change that. Won't happen. Rely will hopefully just enhance the kind of One Savings Bank proposition overall.
That's excellent, and I'm delighted to say that you're joining us for our buy-to-let events, aren't you, in November as VIP sponsors.
Absolutely.
So our brokers can hear from both TMA and Primis, can hear more about how the launch has gone and what's happening.
Yeah, we'll be there, so please come down and see us.
Thank you, Liz.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We combine our deep industry expertise with drive and agility to give property investors and brokers the winning edge. We lead with insight. We act with confidence, giving our customers the assurance that when they need results, we make them happen. We're agile and entrepreneurial in our approach, spotting opportunities and securing solutions that others miss. We are a safe pair of hands, reliable, consistent, experienced. Our customers trust us to deliver every time. We believe in personal relationships built to last, long-term partnerships fueled by a deep understanding of our customers' needs. We are the trusted partner our customers rely on, today, tomorrow, always.